Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jim Smalley, and welcome to a presentation about 2020's latest product to be added to its portfolio, 2020 Manager. I'll be giving you a sneak preview of this exciting new software and explaining how it is going to help your business operate more efficiently, allowing you to focus on the job of serving your customers and winning more deals. So, running a business efficiently is a challenge. We all know that, but do you have all of your prospects, your customers, designs, quotes, and contracts all in one place? If you do, then great, but from what many of you have told us, life is a little more like this, I guess. So you've got some whiteboard, files, you're using Windows, you're using Post-its, you're taking photos, you've got hand-drawn sketches coming in from people, and of course, slap bang in the middle, you've got 2020 Design Live. So you're probably using most, if not all, of these things. Everything is somewhere, but sometimes it's hard to find what you need quickly because it's not always where you would expect it to be, or more likely, because you and your colleagues don't always put things in the same place or just don't work in exactly the same way. So of course, right in the middle here, you've got 2020 Design or 2020 Design Live here, which of course you continue to use for the creation of your floor plans and your wonderful renderings. But we all know that there's much more involved outside of the design software itself. And that, of course, is where the challenge is, keeping everything ordered and keeping everything together. So good news, help is at hand, because 2020 Manager will allow you to run your business processes and customer interactions all in one cloud-based and user-friendly application that you and your team can use either in the office, at home, or on the go. So let's learn a little bit more about what 2020 Manager offers. Well, as I said, it's cloud-based, which means that it's download free. So no nasty installation challenges. Log in and use it straight off the bat. And it can be used anywhere. So here's an example. You've captured a lead over the telephone, and you might be using 2020 Manager on your desktop PC, capturing the prospect's name, an email, phone number, that sort of thing, and you're entering the details in. And later that day, perhaps, they might be walking around, they've come to pay you a visit, and you might be walking around your showroom with that same customer, but now with a tablet in your hand, asking them questions about their preferences and storing these against their customer record. Logging into 2020 Manager is very easy, as it uses the same safe and secure licensing system as is being used by 2020 Design Live. So no need to remember yet another password. Centralized storage. Well, here is the beauty of a cloud-based solution. Everything is central. Nothing is local on an individual's machine. So all contacts can be found in the same place. Details of all of your customer engagements, likewise, in exactly the same place. Copies of your 2020 Design.kit files can be stored against the customer engagement, and copies of all quotes and contracts, once generated, are automatically attached to the record as they are produced. 2020 Manager has been designed with the kitchen and bath industry specifically in mind. So the functionalities that have been developed reflect the needs of those working in this market. The solution provides a guided but configurable workflow, taking you from the prospect stage of a customer journey right through to a signed contract. And we're going to see some illustrations of this as the presentation continues. You also have the ability to manage your resources and appointments within its built-in calendar as well. Visibility and control. Well, 2020 Manager delivers powerful tools both for the business manager and for the employee alike. As a manager, you can control the levels of access that your team has to the solution, and you can reflect the business hierarchy of your organization, as well as the ability to set targets for your team and view the progress being made towards them. As a member of the team, you have full visibility of your own ongoing engagements and your goals, and as well as those who are working under your direct leadership. So now let's take a little glimpse at the product itself. So, as mentioned, it's web-based. So when you log in, you sign into 2020 Manager. We have a starting point that is always the activities dashboard, as we call it. And this is essentially the central hub for all users. And it indicates all of their own open activities and the various stages of the workflow that they are at. There are easy-to-use filters, which allow you to isolate the engagement you used to work on. And there's also a dashboard view, which allows you to see that the overall status of your activities and your sales goals. As mentioned, the solution is workflow-based, so you're always being guided. So we have devised a very simple prospect-to-contract template that mirrors a typical workflow, the first stage being the prospect stage itself. So here's an example. To ensure that no duplicate contact records are added when you start a new engagement, the system will check whether a customer or a prospect is already on the system, and you can quickly search to see whether they already exist. Key information fields are marked as mandatory, but you're able to return and edit to the record anytime. So, for example, at a later date, you want to add a secondary address or details of a partner or somebody else involved in the engagement. That's easily done. Once you've added the prospect, you then automatically advance to the next stage of the workflow, which is the project scope, where you'll qualify the engagement. So let's have a look closer here. Here, you can capture further information about your client's lifestyle, tastes, and budget. This is done using a handy built-in kitchen lifestyle questionnaire, which you can either use as is, or you can customize it yourself to reflect the approach that you would normally follow. So these are the obvious sort of questions, ranging from the most important, the budget, down to colors and tastes, what appliances you wish to add to the design. As I say, we've built one for you, but obviously it's easily modifiable if you wish to. And this can be dipped in and out of as you go along. Maybe you don't capture all of the information at the beginning, but obviously you can revisit this as the questionnaire is completed. It's stored against the customer record and can be reviewed at any time, so you're never going to forget the brief that you've been given. Also, part of getting the project scope is also, most customers like to be pretty helpful at this early stage, and chances are they bring in a plethora of bits and bobs to help you give a bit of background about the space that they're looking to improve. So this, the product also gives you the facility within the workflow, and indeed outside of the workflow, for you to take copies of any useful materials that the customer provides you and upload them to the engagement. So this could be a sketch that they've written, you can scan it, upload it, that's fine. Or it could be they brought some photos of the space itself, yeah, that's fine. Or maybe even they have information that's provided that they've got from somebody else. So they may have an existing floor plan that you can import and use a PDF or whatever it may be. So again, like any document or any material, all attachments can be freely accessed, reviewed, and downloaded again, either from here or from within the customer record itself. So the next stage is the design stage, and let's be under no illusions here. This is still all done in 2020 Design Live, okay? But 2020 Design Live has been optimized to provide the best possible relationship with 2020 Manager, because where 2020 Manager takes on the burden is with the product information. So the design stage, you'll have within 2020 Manager, you'll have a checklist for the things that you might do. So review the scope, create the design, and that's just to give visibility to yourself, which stage of the workflow you're at, and also visibility to your colleagues or your manager that this is the stage of the overall process that you're at. The designing still happens in design. You still produce your floor plans and your elevations and your beautiful renderings within 2020 Design. But once you're ready, and once you're ready to produce a quote, then you have a facility within 2020 Design Live to send the product information to 2020 Manager, where it can be picked up and manipulated from there. So within 2020 Manager, then you import the design information into the negotiation prior to the construction of a quote, and you can apply things like a temperature and put it at the appropriate stage of the sales pipeline. The next phase within our template workflow is the quote stage, and this is where you get to build the quote. So you take the information that's been imported from 2020 Design, you pick it up in 2020 Manager, and you add it to your negotiation, and then you can build the quote further by adding additional costs such as installation charges, any items that are outside of 2020 Design. Maybe there's some other products that you wish to add. You can apply discounts and also record, obviously, payment terms and the methods. Again, in here, there's a mixture of checklist items and then some where you perform functions within the application itself. And as you can see from the illustration here, once you've applied all of your additional components to the quote, you can then generate a report which is freely editable. So within that, you can add additional comments, additional notes, modify any elements within that quote, and then once saved, you can then print it, and it is automatically stored against the negotiation and the customer record. Again, as I've said several times, all of these things can be easily revisited and referenced. And then, obviously, at the final stage of the process, hopefully, the customer will like what you've put for them, and you have the ability to mark the quote as won or lost, and this will be then reflected in your progress towards your sales goals. But in between, obviously, if additional rounds of design and import are needed, then that's no problem. Revisions to the design information can easily be re-imported, and you can update your existing quotation. Then the final stage, we have the issuing of the contract. And obviously at this stage, there are checklist stages here. So the act of running a credit check, there's nothing built in within 2020 Manager for this, but it serves as a checklist item to use the mechanisms that you already use. The generation of the contract itself, I haven't illustrated that, but it works the same way as generating a quote. But this will obviously can be configured to include your company's standard terms and conditions. And I just illustrated here something that occurs at various intervals during the workflow, which is the ability to create an appointment for, in this case, for the signature of the contract. But of course, you could introduce appointments for consultations at various stages in the workflow. Appointments themselves can synchronize to your Google or Outlook accounts. And we also build into the process that managerial approval is required for the conclusion of the contract. Then the stage of the workflow is then assigned to your manager, and your manager can give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down, or whichever it may be for this to take place. Again, these elements are highly configurable, but we created this workflow to match what we feel is a typical workflow. So, in summary, 2020 Manager will allow you to set up your business processes with users, roles, permissions, sales goals, and lead times. So the users can fit into the hierarchy, obviously defined by their role. The permissions within their role will determine the level of permissions that they have within the software, but as an owner, you can modify those. Sales goals can be defined for your individuals, and then obviously you can monitor and record progress against that as people work through and complete the workflow. Lead times for each of the stages. So we saw the 5 stages. You can enter what is a typical lead time for your business. We have defined some templates. It also allows you to qualify your leads via the questionnaire mechanism and the sales funnel. It also allows you to track the status you're always aware of which stage your project is at, within those 5 stages. And within each stages, there are a series of tasks, and you don't have to do them all. So you can assign tasks to other members of your team if you're busy, or if there's a particular task that someone is a specialist at. So a very valuable tool there too. You can efficiently import designs from 2020 Design Live. As I say, 2020 Design Live has been optimized to have this level of integration with 2020 Manager, so that you have the materials to generate the quotes and contracts, and it doesn't lend itself to rekeying errors or issues. You have the ability to view commercial dashboards and activity dashboards to monitor not only your own activities as an end user, but for the business as a whole if you're the manager. And instead of various folders and files on your computer, you can store examples of the renderings, photographs, documents, so that all customer information is in one place. All of this is possible from any location on a variety of devices, so a desktop PC, a laptop, or a tablet. And the good news is, obviously, as you'd expect, the licensing is secure, consistent with that for 2020 Design Live, and all of your negotiations, your contact information is safely stored. So get organized, be productive, and win more deals with 2020 Manager.